Good afternoon, Thistle fans, and welcome to our latest In Lockdown with interview with a former Firhill favourite. Really pleased to be joined today by someone whose stay at Firhill can be described as relatively short, but very sweet indeed. It's Alex Toasty Burns. Alex, how are you doing?
Not too bad, Brian. Yourself?
Good. I'm well. All the better for speaking to you and looking back at some great memories. Tell us before we go back in time, what's keeping you busy these days?
Well, say for the last, coming up in 13 years, I've been in the police now. So, it's about 13 years come this May. So time flies. So I'm busy with the police.
Not half. Still kicking a ball at all?
No, it's been a few years. I says it's been a kick the ball. I think I took their toll on the knees and the body. So it's been a few years since I kicked the ball. So no, the days are gone. Walking now.
After doing all Jerry Britton's running for him.
Well, you can ask him, but I'm not going to argue with you.
Right, let's take a trip back there. Even before you obviously broke through at Motherwell, what was your kind of youth football journey like?
I said it's probably spot on what you says from the old. I don't think it's called S forms anymore. So S form around about 12, 13. Signed with Motherwell. Bobby Jenks was the man in question. I think Motherwell, Bobby's still attached to Motherwell. So S form, and then left school at 15 on the old YTS apprenticeship. 1989, I think it was. I joined the kind of the ground staff at Motherwell, and then just kind of worked my way through kind of that. Right through the kind of the boys club and obviously the Scottish youth levels.
Yeah. Well, one game that I've got credit Stuart Deans with this, who's a keen kind of Thistle historian, to flag up. I think it was an under-18 cup final against Thistle. Do you remember that one?
I didn't until you mentioned it kind of earlier on. Just after I said that, no, it does. That was 1991. I said no reason why I can remember it. It was four days roughly after when Motherwell won the Scottish Cup at Hampden against Dundee United in 1991. Yeah. So it was about 4 or 5 days after that cup final. So it was a double whammy for the Motherwell.
I saw a couple of the articles obviously picking you out as a influential player in a 2-1 win. So a very early impression on a small number of Thistle fans that night, I guess. But your route to Firhill from Fir Park was via Holland, Southend, Kirkcaldy, Livingston, and then finally Paisley. And we'll fast forward to that 2001-2002 season, which you started in Paisley and finished at Firhill. But you'll remember the opening game, I hope, which was an absolute thriller at Thistle. And you scored, obviously. Do you remember that game in particular?
Very kind of vaguely. I can remember, obviously, it was just, I think it was the turn of the year. I'd made the move from St Mirren to kind of Firhill. But no, I can remember it was
sorry, I mean the first game of the season when...
Oh, the first game of the season, sorry, I says, yeah.
Before you'd moved,
there was a few years that left kind of Livingston. We'd won the league at Livingston to get Livingston promoted. Myself, Jerry Britton was kind of one of the other players. Jamie Dolan, God rest him, was another one, and Mark McCulloch. There was 4 years kind of were there at Livingston. Obviously, they spent a lot of money in bringing in a lot of the Spanish players coming in. Thereafter for myself at St Mirren, surplus to the requirements at Livingston didn't fit the mould, and obviously Tom Hendry at the time was St Mirren manager.
That's right. And at the start of that season, St Mirren were considered, favourites or certainly among the front runners for the title.
A kind of strong team with a good combination of young players who had a bit experienced in the Premier League and a lot of kind of older kind of players. So they were favourites to go up. Obviously didn't transpire that way.
So then, ironically, you did start your season at Firhill with that opening game of the season, 3 straw you scored. A terrific game, and perhaps proof that Thistle that season were going to be a force because they held their own, and maybe give us a measure as to how far the team could go. What were you? At what point did Thistle become interested in you? What was
again? It was what I can recall as much as I can. This is, as you quite rightly saying that St Mirren struggled that year. I think we got off to a kind of half decent start, but as the first half of the season progressed, things were looking as if we weren't going to be we can back up straight up to the kind of the Premier League again. And then what I can recall, just after the kind of turn of the year, right out the blue, I says John Lambie had come in and asked if I was interested in jumping ship across the kind of the city as such. So I didn't hesitate. I says at the time, kind of Thistle were in the firing line with ourselves in Airdrie to see who was going to begin up. I says, so I took that opportunity. I says, and there's a lot of players, as I said, I mentioned earlier on, with Jerry and Jamie and Mark and everyone else, and three other players. Paul Dees was another one. So it was a kind of familiar squad at the time. I says, so I didn't hesitate to make that move.
What was it like when you came into the environment? Did you sense, we've got more than a good chance here?
It was great. I said, I think where John kind of won a watch was he brought in players who didn't need a lot of looking after. I says he brought in the kind of experienced players who kind of trained hard, who's been there, seen it, done it, has maybe won a first division and knew what it take to get back up into the Premier League. So I think John was very clever and who he brought in. I says, and obviously later on that year, that's how it kind of bottomed itself out. Obviously getting promoted and winning the league.
And the minute you get in the team, you weren't really out. You were a relentless first pick for Thistle, not just that season, but the next season. You made your debut against Airdrie, and we had a couple of huge games against them where, I guess we ended up with a point. If we'd have lost either of them and they'd got the 3 points, it would have made things pretty tricky. But huge games for you to be involved in straight away.
No, they were great games, especially the first game that I can call. Obviously, Airdrie went to 1-0 up. And I scored kind of the equaliser. I think that I broke my finger and all that kind of game as well. I think the next few games after that was a kind of wee lightweight cast on, and then kind of further on towards the end of the season, I can recall at Airdrie's Park, it was a full capacity 10,000 was there, and that doesn't happen very often at a first division game. I says, to be fair, again, it was a draw that day, but I think we were far the better team on that day. I think we're experienced that showed, but I know there were two big games. So
that was a big equaliser that day. I remember the huge crowd going through, buses galore, and we a vital equaliser in the big scheme of things.
That was right. I says, but I can recall, obviously when Airdrie was up there, I don't think even Celtic or Rangers would have filled that kind of stadium that day. There's always some wee pockets, but the travelling fans and obviously the Airdrie kind of fans made it a great day. It was a kind of decent day that day, but I can recall. But I says that was kind of the catalyst for kind of kicking on the last few games and obviously winning the league that year.
Mm-hmm. Which the next week we did with another away performance and a huge crowd that went to Love Street of all places, which is the thing goes full circle for you. But you'd obviously won the same league with Livingston a short time ago, but was this every bit as special?
Well, without a shadow of a doubt, I says it's winning anything, no matter what kind of level you're at, whether you're amateurs, juniors, or professional, whatever league it is, the bottom of the leagues, or kind of in that year to get up to the kind of Premier League. So, without a shadow of a doubt, I say it was just kind of sad, and Livingston didn't give us the opportunity to show what I was capable of. Obviously, having been there many years before with Motherwell, and I've kind of gained that experience. So I was a bit kind of sad that Livingston didn't give me that opportunity to kind of show what I do or what I could do. I says, and I was kind of grateful to John that knowing I was going to get that opportunity to win the league and then move on and kick on the following season and see what was going to transpire.
Actually, a pretty good first few months at Thistle and wrapping it up in terms of the flag and the presentation. The trophy presentation the following week against Wraith Rovers when Big Jerry did get the goal. I guess in that period of a season, once you've won it and you're getting presented with a trophy, it's all about just enjoying it and savouring it.
Kind of without a shadow, man. Obviously, kind of times have changed in relation to how a professional looks after yourself. Kind of the days you maybe get 6-7 weeks off, and it was a bender for the first couple of weeks. Obviously, having to kind of that and come back in and get your body. I mean, nowadays football's moved on a good bit in relation to players can be more kind of professional in how they go about their diets and their regimes, and obviously the training. They're maybe doing double sessions, whereas kind of in the days it was you finished training, went to the golf course, I went to the bookies. Unfortunately, I usually done both. This is, but kind of that was the kind of things kind of happened back then. But not without a shadow of doubt, it was a case of getting the celebrations out of the way, a few days in Magaluf for the rest of the boys, and back to kind of normality and kind of prepare for the following season.
Aye, well, I mean, I think in all these conversations I've had with players, the furthest we've ventured is probably Blackpool. So clearly, the end of season foreign trip was a way of you all kind of letting off the steam after the season.
Aye,
in this situation, celebrating.
without a shadow, most clubs kind of done that. You probably went into Magaluf and seen every club there, your Jimmy Calderwood, your Jimmy Nichols and all the other kind of clubs that were there at the time. But I said it was three days of kind of letting your hair down. That's what the last time I think I had here. I said, but not without a shadow. I said it was a good 3 days just to get used to let the celebrate and kind of let the hair down a bit.
But you don't need to give away any dressing room secrets, but maybe just give us a name of who maybe enjoyed those sort of trips the most out of that squad.
Again, Jerry, I know Jerry's got the where he is now in relation to his executive kind of status and his lawyer background and everything else, but Jerry was well up there in relation to the shenanigans that went on and the messing about. I say there was a little guy at the time there who was kind of on the books at kind of Partick Thistle. His name I can't recall, but he had some issues with diabetes. So Jerry had thought nothing better else to do with himself. Well, his sugar levels must be due. He gave him 2 Mars bars, and the poor wee boy ended up in hospital for 3 days. His sugar levels were too high, and Jerry knocked him right over the edge and gave him a couple of Mars bars. So that's kind of one occasion. But Jerry, having known Jerry through obviously played Gary Livingston and the kind of Thistle, Jerry was well up there in relation to getting up to things basically. Him and Danny Lennon.
Right, let's just say that's where you further developed your understanding, and that was to pay dividends the following season. Because I don't know if this is accurate to say, but best season of your professional career, and did you go into that season with a personal target? You also a bit of fire in the belly that you wanted to prove yourself at the top level again.
I say without a kind of shadow, as in when it comes to kind of goal scoring, I was people looked at me for being a striker, but I was kind of used and abused to a certain degree. Even get back to my early days at Motherwell when Alan McLeish first came in. I could play middle of park, I could play right back, I could play right midfield. So I was kind of used and abused in that kind of side of things, having kind of grown up through the boys' club levels and everything else. Even getting back to the days where the game you're talking about at Hampden with the under-18s cup final against Thistle, I said I was always predominantly a striker. So in regards to kind of goal scoring kind of things, without a shadow of doubt, that was kind of the best year. I'd always at Motherwell early on, we finished third in the year in the league and then second, which kind of, as a goal scoring, wasn't kind of great, 7 or 8 goals, but to go to Thistle, where they were probably favourites to get right back down and to score kind of 16 league goals that year and be a successful campaign, and in a way was we finished 10th and we stayed up. It was absolutely kind of great. But for goal scoring that year, without a shadow of a doubt, and the way the team played together, I thought were exceptional.
Yeah. Let's again pick out a few games. Clearly, going back up to the top league gave you the opportunity to play against Motherwell again, and you did well in the opening couple of games, scoring at Fir Park, and then in a home win. Was that quite an emotional experience for you playing them again, or were you just pretty focused on the job in hand?
Again, what I'm saying, it's kind of focused on the game in hand. There wasn't many players at kind of Motherwell who were still there at my first time there. But again, Motherwell had a kind of wee soft spot in my kind of heart because I started there and they gave me that opportunity to kick on. But no, as soon as that whistle goes at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's focused on getting the 3 points for Motherwell on these games. It was kind of, I think, with a good win at home against Motherwell. It was 2 or 3, I can recall. And then with a 2 week just over the festive campaign, we drew 2 each. Jerry Collins took in that day. But no, I said it was very good games, but not focus his job in hand, basically.
You're right. You were to score against them on all 4 occasions, which is quite a record. So you clearly enjoyed the familiar surroundings. There was just the festive period stands out because you're consistent through the whole season, but a real purple patch at that point. At the Kilmarnock game we need to talk about, because that's the one that people like to celebrate, because it was we could talk through each of those goals individually, and they were just absolutely tremendous. They come up again on the Thistle social media channels recently after obviously Burns night, and gives us an excuse to put your name up in lights again. But first of all, specifically that Kilmarnock game, what do you remember of that day?
Everything. I still got the ball upstairs, and it's my one and only. It's my one and only kind of professional hat trick. I've scored many kind of growing up, but without a shadow that day, I said it was a kind of the culmination of a kind of purple patch myself, having scored the kind of the 3 goals. I think the following week, with the home win against Dunfermline, 1-3-0. I scored 2 that day, so it was nearly kind of 2 hat tricks in a row. But no, without a shadow, the Kilmarnock game, having to play with Gordon Marshall the following season at Motherwell to wind him up about the 3 goals. But it all goes on about the kind of the second goal. Did I mean it? Did I not mean it? But I'm always going to say I did mean it. I says it was right on the touchline and seen Gordon off his line. It was a great.
You had the choice of shooting or playing Jerry in when, so you definitely meant it, because there was another option there. But if that finish was impressive, the third one was possibly even more so, because there was no margin for error. You had to get the ball right up and over.
It was just kind of. I think the 3 goals were kind of different in the way they were. I say the first goal was I think I showed a wee bit of pace. I think I still had a wee bit of pace at that age. I says, and managed to put the ball down one side and kind of get through and kind of slew it into the top corner as such. Second goal obviously was on the touchline, seeing Gordon out, and then I says Gordon was rushing out to me. I said it was just a case of, I think the ball went God knows how many metres in the sky without thankfully kind of falling into the net. But no, the 3 of them are getting good. I enjoyed this. Says any hat-trick in the Premier League, I says was brilliant. Even if it was 3 tap-ins, I still enjoyed them.
They certainly went tap-ins, and I think in the footage you can see Martin Hardy runs straight to get the ball and gives it back to you, and you stick it up your top as you run back to the halfway line. So you've still got that match ball. That's tremendous.
No, it's still there. I don't know what kind of size it is right now. It's probably loose still. It's air out it, but no, it's still there. Take the pride of the house, so it is. Superb.
Yeah, I mean, 16 goals overall. I think 11 in the space of about just over a couple of months, and your name was up in lights at that point. Larsson obviously topped the scoring charts that season, but you were tucked in behind amongst the likes of John Hartson, Michael Moles, Chris Sutton. So
somebody mentioned somebody mentioned it last week in relation to the Can You Believe? I says, and they actually says it was 4th. I think what they mentioned was, it was Larsson, Stevie Crawford, John Hartson, and then myself and on the board were joint kind of 4th. So again, in the way I looked at kind of things, how many chances kind of Partick Thistle created on a game basis? You maybe get 2 or 3 chances a game if you're lucky. And these players were playing with Celtic and Rangers and creating 10, 12 chances a game. I say, so I kind of, the goal ratio and maybe chances in a ratio kind of basis, I says, no, it was kind of the pride in relation to kind of getting 16 goals that year. This is brilliant.
So I think if a Scottish striker scores 16 in the top flight these days, he's probably going to get talked about in Scotland circles. Kevin Nisbet will be this season, no doubt. Was that ever something that was on the radar for you?
I don't think so, to be honest. I think somebody mentioned it in one of these Clyde phone-ins, possibly. Didn't know, but kind of, this may be a Saturday night at 2 o'clock in the morning or something. But I didn't hear anything much about it, and I was kind of surprised. It would have been nice, because I think I played right through from under 16s right up until the 21s. So that would have been kind of the final thing to kind of capitalise on it all. But no, I didn't get the opportunity, and I've kind of no regrets, but I don't think there was any kind of substance to that. I'd have been surprised if that was at the time. I think it was Bertie Votes. I think I can recall it was a manager around about that time. Yeah. I don't think there'd been any kind of in that one.
Well, when you're in amongst that company in the scoring charts, I think it's well qualified. It's well qualified.
Possible without a shadow, but I don't think.
But your Partick Thistle journey fittingly would come to an end with a goal and a victory at Easter Road. First of all, in that game, do you remember much of that one? Because it was a nice way to round off the season.
Well, also it was the last day of the season, also the Sunday that we played. This is that kind of call, was it 3-2 win? I think was it we ended up winning.
That's right.
3-2 win. This is, and a wee kind of diving header to go, I think 3-2 up. But I couldn't call. But no, it was a great day to finish off that season. Again, you go to these places and you'd like to see your Hibs now and kind of score goals. But again, that was one of the kind of days of a very dominant and well deserved win.
Yeah. It was obviously the end of the John Lambie era, which I presume might have had an influence in your decision to move on.
It definitely was. I said that was kind of the main decision. I think that year there was a few players were moving on. Big Scotty Patterson was moving on. Archie was moving on. Big Martin Hardy was moving on. Jerry Collins was probably talking the job, but no disrespect to kind of Jerry. Me and Jerry had a lot of kind of great times together, but probably 2 personalities that kind of clashed. And I think kind of Jerry was tipped, and I didn't think me and Jerry we'd been fighting more time at half time. I say just not to do it kind of personalities, or just more to do the two who's loved winning. We hated getting beat. And I think kind of me and Jerry would have probably clashed. It wouldn't have been great because we knew kind of John was kind of retire and hanging the boots up as in his kind of managerial role. But again, if John would have stayed on, he was one of probably the best managers I've worked under in relation to. But I said earlier on, he let you go on, but he let you go out and play without kind of very much going in kind of training, or he's legendary in relation to reading off his team in the back of a fag packet, and that was kind of John. If John would have stayed on, I'd have maybe considered the kind of staying on again, because I says it was a great season and we kind of enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose just reflecting on it all, I'll ask you two questions. First of all, the John Lambie experience for you, you must have known plenty about him. Did it live up to what you thought it was going to be?
And more. I says, even the day I walked in to sign, it was obviously the day before the Airdrie game, in the Friday afternoon. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I could hardly see John for smoking his cigars, and he was cutting a big salmon up in the middle of his table. I said, so that was a kind of a culture shock in relation to that. I don't know if that was my signing on for you, a big bit of salmon, but no, that's without a word of a lie. I could hardly see him when he was cutting up salmon. I says, and that was just kind of John at his best, but absolutely brilliant, and he got the best out of kind of players. I
think that is a new one for me. I've heard there's not many John Lambie stories you've not heard of, but cutting up salmon.
That was on his table, a big bit of salmon. Somebody handed him into him.
And then, broader than that, how do you reflect and call it a season and a half at Firhill?
Again, we were the favourites. It's obviously getting to the Premier League, winning that first division. Again, a winners' medal. As I said earlier on, any winners' medal is absolutely brilliant, and it will sit as proud as within my living room. I said, so that was great. Obviously, the press and obviously the media, as they do every year, who's our favourites to go down? We were probably the favourites to go down, and then to prove all of them kind of wrong, for me to get 16 goals in, it was a year and a half of enjoyment, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's the time games were shown on mainstream TV live, and you obviously scored against Rangers at Firhill, and so that your profile could never have been greater. It must have been a great time to be playing football.
No, it was great. I says, and even kind of we made it more than kind of enjoyable was playing with Jerry. I says, if I was up playing the two up front with me and Jerry, or if it was kind of a wee deeper role as such. But there's a lot of games in that season, probably the purple patch that you were talking about, we went to Ibrox, and I think for the first half, we were on riot. I think Jerry was through 1-1 with Stefan Klos on a couple of occasions the first half. I had a 1v1 just at the beginning of the second half, and I thought for that first 45 minutes, you'd have thought we were Rangers and a lot of team apart ourselves. So that game sticks out like a mind, out of mind. And then obviously the Rangers game at Firhill, when I'd scored, we went 1-0 up, and I thought we're by far the better team. Jerry got sent off that day, that I can recall. Yeah. And I think that was the catalyst and kind of turning the game around and ended up losing 2-1. But and even that year as well, we went to Partick. I think it was the quarterfinals of the League Cup. We went 1 down, I equalised 1 each at Partick, went to penalty kicks, and we had 2 opportunities to knock Celtic out. That big Martin Hardy and Stevie Craigan missed their penalties.
I think it might have been 3.
Was it 3 times?
3. I think 3 in a row. I think big Kenny Mill as well.
Possible. Anyway. Remember, it was Stevie Craigan and Hardy. I think the two of them were trying to get the glory and no fighting as such, but we're arguing in the middle of the park to see who can go up and kind of score and take the limelight. But obviously the two of them missed. But I said that was a great opportunity to go to Celtic Park, and you had your Larsons, your Paul Lamberts, and your Neil Lennons of this world, a full team out, and we were very unfortunate getting knocked out in the finals.
I was going to see if we could get away without bringing it up, because it still hurts there. I was behind the goal watching it, Alex. So we played very, very well that night, and just on the brink of a semi-final and going to Hampden, obviously. So
it would have been great.
The fine margins. So if I can put you on the spot with one final question, it's just to try and suss from you, who would you consider the strongest team of players you played with while at Firhill?
Again, I was only there, about a year and a half that season, but again, probably what sticks out to me is a probably kind of goalkeeper, not just because he was a kind of mate, kind of we grew up in the same area, but Kevin Budd. I thought in goals, I know Kenny Arthur was kind of a fan's favourite, but I thought when Kevin Budd was fit and staying off his cans of Tennant's lager as such, but if Kevin Budd was fit, I think all day long I'd have kind of had him in goals. Without a shadow of a doubt, Scotty Patterson, centre half with big Stevie Craigan.
Yeah.
Exceptional Stevie Craigan, obviously a wee bit more of those that Scott had, these like a big Alan Hansen type of player.
Yeah.
With Archie kind of left back and David Lilly.
Yeah.
I thought kind of two got up and down the line, kind of what you see nowadays, full backs getting up and down the line and creating chances. So kind of that would be the kind of the back five, including the goalie.
I think David Lilly set up one of your Kilmarnock goals, didn't he?
That's right. It was kind of the second goal ball up the line. So kind of that was kind of the back, and then I think along the kind of the middle would be Jamie Buchan, Danny Lennon, Martin Hardy, and Jamie Mitchell, which I think kind of Jamie was very kind of creative at times as well during that time.
Yeah.
Again, if Jamie wasn't, I would always maybe drop back off into the middle of the park, and kind of Jerry and Trigger would be up top. But I think for the purposes of kind of, if me and Jerry were up front, I think would have caused any defence a wee bit of hassle. Just Jerry kind of, I can only describe him kind of old, kind of Frank McGarvey type player. He'd be old arms and legs, and but what he created, if allowed to go for him to go and fight with the other centre halves and let me kind of play, kind of was brilliant. I think we complemented each other.
Superb, great side. Really enjoyed that. And a strong all over the park there. But as you say, it's you've got a pretty consistent choice of players over that season and a half, because a lot of the ones who took us up got the chance to play at the top flight as well. And
no, you said obviously, I mean, there's players there who, even the Derek White coming into that kind of team, adding his kind of knowledge and experience. It was great, but I think when he came, Scotty was well established, Stevie Craigan had been well established, who had a great kind of partnership together. But obviously White was obviously there in the background and kind of coming in and showing these kind of bits and bobs and the experience around about the dressing room. So there was numerous players that kind of that year I could have added in. I said, but top of my head, what I can think of, obviously that was kind of the starting 11 that I'd probably put in.
I just wonder if they all got the salmon treatment when they signed for Lambie. I'm going to need to find this out. Was this a ritual, or was it just you?
You probably hear that many stories with John. It was people couldn't believe, but without a shadow of doubt, I can always remember it Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, through a hazy smoke and a big, well, probably a smoked salmon, because obviously with John's kind of smoking off his cigar. I says, but the big salmon was in front of that table. I couldn't believe it. I walked out the dressing room. He's kind of dirty, manky looking Partick Thistle tracks that he always wore without taking it off.
What a picture. What a picture. Brilliant. Perfect way to finish, Alex. Thank you very much on behalf of all Thistle fans.
No worries, Brian.
Thanks for all the goals and the memories, and hope you and the family continue to keep well through the remainder of lockdown, and maybe see you back at Firhill one of these days.
Likewise, Brian. I was there a couple of years ago, back at Thistle. I said I've got some children there and a wee foster boy who hadn't been at a game, so that was his first game. It was at home to Inverness a couple of years back when Archie and Scotty were still in the management, so I enjoyed being back.
Great stuff. Oh, let's get you back again when we can.
Yeah, that's great, Brian. Take care.